Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. I am Mark Pavlich, and across the way in the Grove, Mr. Jesse Martineau, and via Montreal, Quebec, the one and only Mr. Georges Laraque, everybody.
Guys, this is going to be a good show. Buckle up. We'll be right back. This is the Me and Jesse podcast.
Get ready. It's time for the Me and Jesse podcast with Mark Pavlich and Jesse Martineau.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. I am Mark Pavlich, and across the way in the Grove, the one and only Mr. Jesse Martineau, and our special guest today, everybody, via Montreal, Quebec, the one and only Mr. Georges Laraque.
Thanks for joining us, Georges. It's always an honor to have a personality such as yourself, because you go from NHL to all the things. We'll get into all that stuff in a minute, but thanks so much for joining us from Montreal tonight. What time is it there right now?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Yeah.
Guys, two things I want to say first before we start.
Sure.
First thing I want to say is I want to commend you guys on the marketing job you've done. I have never done any interview that was as market as you guys have done. It looks like you guys have a team of 100 people. You guys put it everywhere. It was insane.
Well, Mark is the guru for marketing in the whole area, maybe North America. I mean, as you saw, it is relentless.
You know what? The great part, George, is having a podcast like this, not just that we have a marketing business as well, but when you get excited about a certain guest to come on. And it's not so much about the hockey part of you. It's about your vast array of stuff that you've done in your life, whether it's like where you've been in the world. People don't know this stuff. Like, I could care less about your hockey career, me personally. I'm more fascinated with your political career, your being a vegan, the stuff that you could teach people, the next generation of people. That's what I'm interested in. You know what I mean? But yeah. I'll let Jesse start, because I know he wants to start.
But hold on, one thing. The second thing, I got to ask you guys for a favor.
Sure.
Jess, I need to ask you for a favor.
Okay. Next
time, in Christmas time, I do a charity event with children. Can I borrow you? I'll just paint your beard white, and you could be a Santa Claus.
100%. That's a deal.
That's awesome. Good.
I get asked that a lot. During Christmas, kids, during all Christmas season, kids look at me weird. And I'm like, what are you kids looking at? I realized why. And it is actually turning a little white in there. It's because I have 5 kids of my own, so they make it turn white.
But a couple years ago, I tried it with my kids. I dressed as Santa, right? And they asked me why I was black, and I said because I go down the chimney. So that worked. But when they pulled the beard, it didn't work. So you won't have that problem. So
no, it is legit. It is attached to my face. Now, George, we have something actually very in common, and that's we're both diehard Seahawks fans.
Oh.
And Now, I saw on your Twitter that you said you cried. I didn't cry. There was some swearing. There was some yelling. But I mean, I'm as heartbroken as you. That was devastating.
The reason why I was upset for that game is we're playing against the Rams. Jared Goff is hurt. He got surgery.
Yes.
So he's not supposed to play. We'll play against the third-string quarterback that
he was a financial advisor 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't even know who he is. He gets hurt by Jamal Adams being at the game, clean hit. He's out for the game. Goff, that had surgeries back in, he can't even throw. Game is over in my mind.
Yes.
So we're struggling to put up points because Aaron Donald's a machine. He has 2 sacks and, he's all over Wilson. At the second half, Aaron Donald is gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was hurt.
And what do we do? Nothing. Nothing at all. This is the worst game of Russell Wilson I've ever seen.
Do you think, George, it's because the talk this year, the talk about him MVP, and that was people were talking about how he's never won, and then this year was the year they were talking now, maybe this is the year, and maybe that's stuck in his head some way.
You know, what I don't understand is for some reason, Pete Carroll wanted to run.
Yeah.
And we didn't throw any passes to I know Metcalf was upset, he didn't get enough passes, and we didn't use Metcalf Lockett enough. We just tried to run our stupid running game. It didn't work out. We stuck with it, and it didn't work out. And it's such a disappointing loss because how do we lose? First of all, Jared Goff he's terrible.
He's horrible.
And with a bad thumb, he's even worse. And we lost.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
No, it was painful.
That loss to me, it hurt as much as when we lost to the Pats.
Yes.
Oh.
I genuinely lost sleep over that Super Bowl. Mark was there.
Yeah.
Mark was there.
I was there, and I'm telling you, I if there's a team I hate, it's the New England Patriots and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The two of those two teams.
And the Cowboys. You hate the Cowboys too.
And I hate the Cowboys. Hate them. But I was there, and to see New England fans ready to cry, the game was over. They were crying. They were crying.
Hand it to Marshawn.
Oh man.
I know that's, I don't know what's worse between that and us losing Game 7 Stanley Cup Final 2006 against the Kings.
That was bad.
Because you were on the ice then. What you honestly are comparing it to the same thing? I mean, you were a player then.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? When you're a diehard Seahawks fan, it's like you feel like you're a player.
Yeah.
When you you think you already won, remember, it will be a back-to-back.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was going to solidify us. Yeah.
Yes. So when you think you already won and something like that happened, because I hate the Pats as much as everyone.
Yeah.
And just to see them crying and it was over, and all my friends were watching it with, they're all Pats fan with the jersey, and I was laughing at them, and it was over.
No.
To this day, they still give it to me about that part.
I get it too. I get it too.
Right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, no. So that's
but Game 7, but you're saying it was just as bad as Game 7 against Carolina.
Of course, I exaggerate a little too much, right? Because to this day, I still have not got over it yet.
Really?
Yeah.
To this day, and I never will.
You wake up in the middle of the night, George? You wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and think about it? Come on, tell me.
I used to for a long time after this just happened, but every time I hear about every time somebody talks about cups or cup final or anything, I think about that right away.
Yeah.
All the time. When they were talking about the Canes, the bunch of jerk stuff that they were doing.
Yep.
Every time they talk about the Canes, I think about 2006. When they call him bunch of jerks because they done share what he did, I call him bunch of jerks because they beat us Game 7.
Yeah, that's right.
So
there's nobody left on the team, is there?
Yeah.
But when you're a kid and you play hockey on the street hockey, and you dream of scoring the winning goal, Game 7, Stanley Cup Final to win it all, not of losing it, and we lost. And the worst part about it, what I'll never forget, is in Carolina when they won the cup, they did a parade, right, with the cup, and the citizen complained to the mayor because they said that they were making too much noise during the party. So the mayor promised that if they ever win the cup again, they would have to celebrate inside the rink.
Oh my goodness!
If in 2006 we would have won the cup,
parties still be going on. Yeah.
Today we'll still be on White Ave. Back to Jasper White Ave, and actually we'd be going over Anthony Henday a couple times.
Let's do some laps.
Once it's done, because the donuts is done, right? It wasn't there back then, but we'd go all around it with the cup again and again and again and again.
That's good.
Yeah. George, did you ever play football in school for your size? Did you play? You did,
yes,
Yeah.
Actually, funny story with that. When I was 15 years old, I had to make a choice between hockey, American football, and soccer.
Wow. Really?
I was pretty good in all three sports. In football, I played for Danny Machocha. I was a running back and a Bantam AAA. I used to just run through people. When I had the football, other than going to where the block was, I would go over people because I just like running over people.
Yeah,
and
Marion Barber.
So many touchdowns. And when I met Danny, because when I was I got drafted junior hockey, and unfortunately I couldn't do both.
No.
So
No.
yeah, the day of Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson doesn't work for hockey and football.
No.
But anyway, I met Danny Machocha, which he ended up coaching the Eskimos a couple of years
That's right.
later.
That's right.
And I went to Danny. I said, Danny, I got to make a decision. I'm gonna go with hockey. And Danny was like, Are you kidding me? There's no black men playing hockey, George. You're never gonna make it in the NHL. You have a career in football, man. You gotta stay. I said, Danny, I'm gonna make it. He's like, No, you gotta make it in football. Stay there. And I said, No, Danny, I gotta stick with hockey. And he's like, You're never gonna make it. Anyway, a couple of years later, I'm drafted by the Oilers. I made it, and Danny's coaching the Eskimos. And I went to go see him.
Of course.
And I said, you remember the chat we had when I was 15 years old? And I was laughing about it. He's like, I knew you were going to come and talk to me about it. If you guys ever see Danny Machocha, ask him the story. He remembers like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I was 15 years old. He told me I was never going to make it. When he ended up coaching the Eskimos, I was an Oiler, and I went to see him. And it's funny how things in life happen sometimes, but...
that's poetic. That's poetic justice right there.
So when you played in the queue, because you played in the queue, were you a tough guy then too?
Actually, when I played in the queue, I was a tough guy because with my size, I knew if I wanted to play in the NHL, I would have to fight. Because when I played minor hockey, I was always the fastest player and a goal scorer. When puberty hit me, I became a monster, and all of a sudden, I wasn't the fastest anymore. I slowed right the hell down. I was like, what is going on with puberty? Why am I so big? It totally changed my body.
Wow.
And then, I didn't need somebody to draw me a picture to be like, George, you want to play in the NHL, you're going to have fighting to game. So what happened is my first fight, junior hockey, I was 16 years old, and all my friends that played midget AAA, they were watching me in the stand. We were playing the Laval, the Tyson of Laval. And I decided to fight the toughest guy in the league, Sylvain Blouin. I was 16 years old. He was 20. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a name for myself. So anyway, even my teammates are telling me, don't do it because I have no experience. I've never fought before. I don't even know how to do it.
Of course.
So I engaged a fight with him, and he beats the snot out of me. I go on the ice, and I'm bleeding from my nose, and I'm like I've never had that before. There's blood everywhere because he broke a vein on my nose.
Yeah.
So my dad was even at that game. I go in the dressing room, there's blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, how am I gonna be able to be a fighter? And I was scared of everything. I was sitting there, and then I was like, I didn't know what to do. Like, I was covered in blood. I was like, man, fighting is way too tough. My dad came in the room to see me because he was at that game. I was alone with a towel on my nose to hold it because my nose was bleeding. You know what my dad said to me? You guys know what he said?
No.
My dad looked at me when I was full of blood, and he said to me, what are you going to do now? Are you going to start being a man? Or are you going to hide behind your mom's skirt? That's what my dad said to me.
Wow.
And my dad was serious. He's like, are you going to quit or hide behind your mom? And I was like, when my dad said that,
no choice.
I was so upset of what he said to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I looked at him and said, I'm going to be a man. And for the next 20 years that I fought in junior hockey, in the hockey league, and the NHL, every time I fought someone, that's my dad that I saw, the image of him telling me that, telling me if I'm going to be a man or I hide behind my mom. That's how upset I was when they said that to me.
Wow.
My dad had it rough. He grew up in Haiti, and he was very tough-minded. He grew up in the Duvalier time where they were really roughing people up down there. And when he came to Montreal, he worked for everything. We grew up through a lot of racism. So he went through so much adversity that he wanted us to be tough. And I know it's not the right way when you raise a children to say I would never. It's not the right way to do so, right? Like the way we grew up, it was pretty severe, but still, that lesson that he gave me at that time,
that was it.
If he didn't say that to me, I'm not here today talking to you guys because maybe I quit hockey after that time that I got beat up. Maybe I quit hockey. I would have never thought that I'd be known as one of the best enforcers to ever play in the NHL. Many years later, that was going to happen because after that first fight, I was thinking of quitting because because it's pretty traumatizing.
Of course.
When
16-year-old
bleeding
to get beat up by a man.
And you're a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get beat up by a man, you're a kid, and you don't know, and you never fought before.
Of course.
It was quite something.
So what did you do after that? Did you train in fighting? Like
No, it's just that, first of all, after that fight, for the next 20 games, every time I got a body check, I was afraid. I was afraid that somebody wanted to engage with me, because psychologically, when you get to the first fight, it's the toughest thing. So my teammates used to say, when you get to the next one, you'll get over it. It'll be fine. And I did. And when I did, things went well, and I kind of worked my way up.
Yeah.
And then, it never happened again.
You were drafted in the second round. That has to be, and I mean, they knew what they were getting. They were getting it.
Well, what's crazy is that when I was drafted by the Oilers, first of all, when I played in the queue, I was playing a lot, scoring a lot of goals, putting a lot of points, and I was also fighting. So I got, I knew I was going to get drafted. Like, it was towards the end of the first or the beginning of the second.
Right.
So I remember, in the draft was in Edmonton, and I met with the others, the staff, and everyone, and everybody was talking to me about tons of stuff, and I shook hands with everyone, and it's funny because when I was meeting up teams in Edmonton the day before the draft, a lot of them were making me drug testing, because they were like, how could a kid that is 17 years old, it's 6'3", 245 pure muscle, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And I thought it was neat to do steroid testing. I'd never done it before. I was like, man, that's a compliment. If they think I wasn't taking anything, but if they test me, it shows that, I probably have good physique, right? So I did tons of testing. I remember I met with the others, and, I didn't know they were going to draft me, but obviously I knew them because of Wayne and all the years of the Cup, right?
Yes.
When I was drafted by the others, I'll never forget. It was everybody at the rink, everybody cheered up. They were pretty much cheering every player that got drafted by the Oilers. But I did the stupidest thing ever after I got drafted. Listen to this crazy story. So I'm drafted by the Oilers, and Sparky, the trainer, comes up to me and asks me what number I want. So I say I want number 27, because number 27 is my favorite number. I've had that number my entire career.
Right.
And it was my lucky number. I had it junior hockey. I had it midget AAA, and I love that number. So when I said that, Sparky looked at me like, oh, yeah, boy. Yeah, I'm going to keep that number for you. I love it, boy. I like it. And I was like, why is he reacting like that for a number? It's just my favorite number. I was like, that trainer is weird. Anyway, when you're drafted by the Oilers, you meet a lot of people, and then I end up meeting like a couple former players, Kevin Lowe and Dave Semenko.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I find out that Dave Semenko, it was his old number.
That's right.
How he was a legend protecting Wayne.
Yeah.
And how everybody thought I was this cocky kid that thought he was going to be the next Semenko.
And take the number.
And I was like, oh my God, Sparky thinks that I want to replace Semenko. I already see myself there. So they think that this big cocky kid comes in, he wants Semenko's number, he's going to fill up his shoes. Oh my God.
Yeah,
George, you're the stupidest guy ever. I was petrified because I was like, man, this is as bad as taking number 99 if you're that guy. You don't take Dave's number. You don't take Semenko's number.
No.
So, man, I put so much pressure on myself just with the numbers without knowing what it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, tell me about, okay, so you're in the NHL now. Who was your favorite face to punch?
Okay, to be honest with you, I didn't have a favorite face to punch, because every time you fight heavyweights, unfortunately, there's no guaranteed that you're gonna punch, like you're gonna beat somebody up, that you're gonna win, because unfortunately you don't fight Schmurf when you're heavyweights, right?
No.
You fight heavyweights. So it was never easy. As easy as sometimes that it looked like,
it was always,
you're putting your life on the line.
Because but you think about that, it crosses your mind that the fact that you could actually die. And so I was always happy after every fight that I was okay. But to say that I took pleasure in fighting with someone, I never did. most guys that did the job didn't like it.
That's what I was wondering.
We actually had a lot of anxiety building into getting into a fight.
Did you get into concussion problems?
Never. I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
Like, okay. First of all, to answer this question, I want everybody to know that every time you talk to a tough guy, ask him if he had concussion, they're always going to say no.
Yeah.
Most of them are going to say no.
You mean it.
I'll tell you why I mean it, just so you guys understand. Because a lot of guys won't admit it because there's too much pride, and they'll never
even
say
after
that
the fact.
They never did. Some of them will, most of them won't. But I'll tell you why I know I didn't. Okay. You remember the year where Bugard passed away?
Yes.
I do.
Colbert passed
That's
away.
right.
Delac passed away. And when another guy passed away, that's when they discovered that in her brain, the CT scan, you know, when the brain is like the disease they had that made guys do things that are not feeling well.
Yeah.
When that happened in Montreal, there's a place in Montreal that do testing to see the status of your brain, to see how healthy it is, and IQ testing. They approached all the tough guys that live in Quebec City to ask them if they wanted to do it. And they said, it's a newspaper in Montreal that wanted to run the test. And they said, the thing is, we'll pay for all the testing, which takes all day long. But if you agree to it in exchange, we want to publish the results, whatever it is.
No matter what they are. Yep.
Yes. And all the tough guys said no, because a lot of them have problems. They don't want to be exposed. When they asked me, I was like, I think I'm okay. No problem. I'll do it. I did the testing. It took all day long. And after the testing, when they give the result, which was live and it's on the paper, it's documented, they said that of all the fighters they've ever tested, I was an exception. My brain was as healthy as a teen. No blood trauma, nothing.
Wow.
No sign of concussion, and my IQ was above average. And it was like they never seen anything. They say you have a brain of someone that never fought. It was insane. It was crazy.
That is amazing.
You know,
that is amazing.
And the thing is, you know, I've always took care of myself. During my career, I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink, none of that stuff. I did tons of charity work. I stayed sane. And when I fought, I always limited blow to my head with my defense the way that I was, but never got concussion, never got anything. And the test is the proof of it. Even if you see a fight sometimes that you think, oh, you got punched, it was always, if somebody punches you, but it's not full blow because they're out of balance.
It comes off the side.
Moving your head back. Exactly. Yeah. So there's so many things that happen, but no, I've always felt healthy. I'm really good. And I'm one of the fortunate ones to say that even though I fought for 13 years in the NHL, 2 years in the minors, and 3 years in junior hockey, other than my nose that was bleeding once, never got concussion, never got any problems in any other fights. So I feel blessed and very lucky.
But why now want to do the charity event with Mike Tyson? So you were talking about the charity event with Mike Tyson, and one thing I know for sure, George, I was in the fighting business for 16 years, and I know Mike Tyson, and Jesse's met Mike Tyson. We know, and the problem with Mike Tyson is his intentions are good to do a charity event. The problem with Mike Tyson is he doesn't do exhibition matches. He did against Roy Jones, but he won't do that against you. Like, you know, if he saw you, it wouldn't be an exhibition match. Like, he can say it's going to be an exhibition match, but it wouldn't really be. It would be for charity. It would be for the rest of the stuff. But him, generally, he doesn't know how to tone it down.
Yeah. But the thing is with that is that, of course, it's a charity event that my agents try to organize in Montreal. 100% of the funds would go to charity. And it wouldn't be the same thing as Roy Jones. Roy Jones, they did 8 rounds of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But Tyson is doing an exhibition tournament that he goes around the world fighting celebrities for a certain amount of money that goes to charity. So it would be 3 rounds of 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
With helmet. And there's a referee in there that he can't trade blows like he did with Roy Jones. The minute that somebody gets exciting, somebody gets in trouble, no, the fight is over.
Oh,
the fight, it is over. It's an exhibition fight with the real rules that you exchange for fun, but there's no power punch.
Okay.
A lot of people, when I start talking about it, they didn't understand, and they thought that I wanted to engage with the world champ in a boxing match.
I'm glad you're making it clear today, because most people didn't understand. Yeah. They did not.
Yeah, and I'm not. You know, again, as I told you guys, I didn't get blows to the head when I played, so I'm not crazy. I know that even though he's older, he's a former champ. I never trained in boxing like he did. So the muscle memory that he has and what he's done all his life, I get killed if I get into a real fight for him. But this is totally different.
Yeah.
This is something for charity. Helmet, nobody gets exciting. Gloves are bigger. We exchange for fun, and that's it.
Yeah.
And if let's say you're right, he gets a twitch in his brain and he starts engaging.
Which
the
is
referee
possible.
stops it. No, the referee stops it right away.
Right.
Oh,
And
okay.
and the thing is that if Tyson gets an exhibition match and he does that, all the other ones that he has are going to be
And
canceled.
finished.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they're finished.
Because people are going to say, we can't trust him. So he's going to leave a lot of money off the table.
I'm glad you clarified it, because most people that I spoke with, at least 95% of people had no clue. I'm glad you explained it today, because most people thought it was something totally different.
Yeah. No, I know, but that's why it's the best. I tell everyone, if you guys not sure on anything, I'm so easy to find. Just ask me directly. I'm the best source. Don't ask for somebody who told me this, to that. Ask the guy. I'm easy to find on social media. You guys found me. I'm here.
We
with
did.
You guys.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. George, I'm telling you right now, you're going to be anything that you do. Our family here at the Me and Jesse podcast is going to make sure we promote it for you, because anybody, listen, I'm telling you, what you do it in this world, I think more people need to know about. People want to talk about hockey. They want to talk about everything, but the amount of charity work you've done from day one to now. Okay. It's easy to do when you're playing in the public eye. It's easy to do when the TV cameras are on, but when it's not on, it's interesting how you still kept up with that. And that's very impressive. I remember 15, 16 years ago, you won't remember, I used to own the MFC for fighting. And you played in our charity poker tournament. And it was interesting because Ethan Morrow played, you played, and everybody came to the River Creek Casino. And it was amazing to see. And I don't care what anybody says, hockey guys are the best. I've been around MMA people in the UFC. I've been around everybody. But when it comes to charity and it comes to giving back, nobody is better than hockey guys. Nobody.
Oh, thank you for the compliment.
Yeah.
But see, the thing with me is that when I was it comes from a long time. When I was a kid, right, and my dream was to play in the NHL, and I had to fight through a lot of racism, and I was alone, and my parents didn't want me to play hockey. I remember when I was a kid, I used to pray. I used to pray to God to give me the strength to make it in the NHL, and I used to tell him that if you give me the strength to play in the NHL, I promise that I'll be making a difference. Wow. So what I'm doing today and all my career is just honoring the promise that I made.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because I wasn't supposed to play in the NHL. My parents were born in Haiti. They knew nothing about hockey.
There's no way.
They didn't even like. Listen, my parents didn't even like the winter. And when I was 7 years old, they said, we don't want you to play hockey anymore. And I was like, I'm gonna play anyway. Just like go on your own. I take my bicycle to go to rink in the winter with the equipment on my shoulder. People were looking at me. They're like, look at this crazy nigger. Look at him. Look how crazy he is. I put my bike at the rink. Everybody knew it was my bike. And I'd be totally alone, getting called the N-word by the parents in the stands, by everyone. I was alone. Wow. So to fight through all that, you know how hard it is when you're 7 years old, 8 years old. My entire youth, I got called the N-word so much to think it was my name. So when I made a pact with God, I believe that the reason why he gave me the chance to play in NHL is because he believed that I was going to give back. So, and you know, I beat the odds and he helped me. So, you know, I got to give back. And at the same time, I hated fighting. So what people saw on the ice, it wasn't me. The real me was the guy that was trying to help others, the guy that loved kids, that did charity work. Because at the end of the day, what's more important? When you retire, who cares about how many guys that I fought, or how much money I made, or if I even won the cup? The most important thing in life is to remember how you were as a human being in your community.
Correct.
How were you as a role model? How did you act? That's way more important than anything, because hockey players were entertainers. To entertain you when you're sitting on your couch, drinking beer, eating chips, that's it. There's things in life much more important than hockey. And the thing is that another thing with that is, when I did charity works, one of the things I liked to do the most was actually hospital visits. And one of the things that I really like doing it is when I go do hospital visits, I saw kids that were fighting for their lives sometimes.
Of course.
And just by seeing me, it could bring the spirit up, right? And even though I had anxiety about fighting, when I see those kids, I'd be like, you know what? Those kids would rather be in my place fighting on the ice to entertain people than fighting for their own life.
Yeah.
You know how there's many tough guys to fight the anxiety. Sometimes they took drug and alcohol. The charity work helped me rationalize my anxiety about the fact that I was a
Wow.
fighter, knowing that other than fighting for, my life, I was fighting to entertain people. So it made it easier. Another thing about charity work that totally changed my life is that story about Jordan Clam. Do you guys know the story about Jordan Clam?
No, the clam
No.
story.
Okay,
No.
listen. This is very touchy. You might need to pull up the Kleenex for this one.
Okay.
In Edmonton, I was known for the hospital visit. So the nurse, they all my phone number, and I said, if a kid wants to see me, call me. I'll be there.
I come.
One time I'm in Calgary, and I get a call from a nurse that says, George, we have this kid. His name is Jordan Clam. He has muscular dystrophy. He has a couple hours to live. Could you come and visit him? And I'm in Calgary. So I'm like, oh my God, I got to come back. I got to make it in time because I want to be there before he passes away, right? So I made it an hour and a half from Calgary to Edmonton driving. That was stupid. Don't ever do that. I was young. I was stupid. But I knew that I would have guardian angel looking after me because I wanted to get there before he passes away. When I get to the hospital, priest is there, the family, everybody's there because it's his last moment they have with him, right? I go in the room, everybody sees me. They're crying, happy crying and stuff. I go see Jordan Clam is on a bed, and I make him smile, I make him laugh, I hug him, I give him a jersey, and I spend time with him. And I got so used to doing that when you go in a room like this, you got to act like everything is fine. So people see him laughing. You change the energy. So they remember that his last moment of joy, right? So I'm there hugging him, make him laugh and stuff, and talk to everybody. And after probably half hour, I told everybody, courage and everything, and I'm with you, send you positive vibe, and I leave. When I leave and stuff, it's pretty emotional because now you could a bit let go, but you don't want to do it in front of everybody because you want people to remember the last time that they're good, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
So when I left a week later, and I have that article, and that came out in the papers. In the Edmonton Journal, there's an editorial section that people could write stuff in there, and you could read, right? The aunt of Jordan Clam wrote an article on there, and she's talking about an angel that visited Jordan Clam, which is talking about me.
Yeah.
And she said because of his visit, that day we weren't ready to see him go. But because of his visit, we got him a week more.
Wow.
A week more because, when you go to the hospital and people are close to dying, when the line goes almost straight.
Yeah.
That's right.
When I was there, it was moving like this because it got him a boost.
Yeah. Wow.
It got him an emotional boost. There's no medication in the world that could do that.
Yeah.
Emotional boost.
No.
A simple visit from a guy that push a puck for a living, give him an emotional boost that got his family his kid for a week later.
Wow.
When I read that letter and I cried and I was like, oh my God, because I play hockey for a living, this is the impact I could have with kids. After that story, I did even more. I did so much that in Edmonton, I started to do family visit. I go to people's home every day. People could write me an email and I go to their house if they invite me and I would just go there every day. I did it so much that the others would go to me. They're like, George, it's dangerous to go to people's home because you could get sued. People could make up stuff.
Right.
So I brought someone with me. But I did stuff every single day. I did stuff so much that the others sometimes, they would tell me, George, you got to slow down. You got to burn yourself out.
Wow.
They assigned someone to me to do my schedule every week for charity work. When I went to Pittsburgh, same thing. When I went to Phoenix, same thing. And when I went to Montreal, same thing. You could ask all this team that I was on, there was someone assigned to me to do my schedule of charity work. Because ever since that story happened, I was like, this is it. This is why I was put in that position. To do great with charities to make a difference. And that's why I did as much as I could to make a difference, because to me, that was the real stuff. That's the stuff that I'm the most proud about the fact that I was able to touch and, change the life of many kids. And it's funny because I've told that Jordan Clam story so many times that I've seen his brother, his cousin once that totally remembered that day. And he thanked me for talking about his cousin or his brother again. I saw them a couple times, or once a while. in my social media, some in his family, when I talk about this story, and I'm pretty sure with all the advertising you guys have done, they're going to hear about this. But
yes.
They always get touched because even though it was so many years ago, I remember that day like it was yesterday.
Yeah, of course.
Jordan Climb touched my heart. And because of him, he's one of the reasons why I do as much charity work as I can, even today, even when there's no cameras, and even when no one is watching.
Oh,
because God is always watching.
Yes,
that's right. I always say too, and I say this to my kids too, and you remember the age-old saying, "It's better to give than receive." And when you're a kid, it sounds dumb, why would I think that? But as you grow older, as you have your own kids, as you start to realize that there's more going on in the world than all the other junk, if you can give, if you can actually give of yourself, you can leave an impact and actually cause something greater to happen than like you said, even pushing a puck around. Like, it is an amazing opportunity to do what you do.
Actually, let me add something else, a little advice to the parents that are listening to us right now. And I'm giving you an advice. I'm not telling you how to raise your children. I'm giving you an advice. You can take it or not, but I'm not lecturing you guys, okay?
That's right.
Little advice I want to give you is that when I was a kid, because my parents were born in Haiti, I went to Haiti twice. When you go to Haiti as a kid and you see what poverty is like, that's when you realize how lucky you are.
Yeah.
The advice that I have to parents is, and I know that going to Disneyland for your kids is the best thing in the world sometimes. One time in your life for your kids' education, bring him to a poor country once so you can see the real world.
You're right.
When your kids come back from that, you'll never forget those images. He's going to realize how lucky he is to live in Canada, a chance to realize his dream, a chance to eat when he's hungry every day. And not just that, all the laziness and everything. When you go to those poor countries, those kids, they beg for money, they beg for jobs.
They're working.
So when kids see stuff like that, it's life-changing. And I never forgot those images. So I think part of the education for kids, if you could afford it, and a lot of people often can, because when you go to vacation, you go to 5 stars,
$10,000.
Yeah, exactly. It costs nothing to go to poor countries, but just that for a week or a couple of days to your kids, it could change their life.
Absolutely.
Forever.
I've been
more appreciative of what they do.
Yes.
I myself have been to Guatemala 4 times. I've been to Venezuela. I've seen that firsthand, and it's something that I will show my kids one day as well, because they have to understand, hey, you got it pretty good here. You might not have the newest PlayStation thing, but hey, you got it a lot better than most kids out there. Now, George, you mentioned Haiti. You mentioned racism. It's still a very prevalent thing, obviously, in our culture. Talk about that. I know Mark has some thoughts about racism in sports, and we want to know what you're thinking.
Well, I grew up, George, right across from Detroit, and I was a kid, and I seen it firsthand my whole entire life. And what I noticed is I see the NFL doing a great job with it, trying to do a great job with it, the NBA, but still lacking in a very far behind is the NHL. I mean, it's almost borderline like they're not really dealing with it correctly. And it's almost disturbing to watch, because you see the NBA, like, they're really paying attention to it. The NFL, they're really paying attention to it. The players are really bringing it to the forefront. But in the NHL, not so much.
Well, okay. To answer this question, it's actually very technical. The NBA and the NFL, they were like there's a lot of stuff they were doing, because obviously we know those sports are primarily more African American.
Correct.
So it just became a natural movement to do, which hockey is known as a white man's sport. So of course they're going to be behind in many things. So the NHL, for many years with Willie O'Ree, they had the diversity program. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. Now they're starting to be more and more present to try to make hockey more popular to minorities, because the thing with hockey is working hard to get hockey more popular in the States, to grow,
of course,
the audience. But the thing is that because there's no outreach to minorities, the audience is not growing. So the game is not selling right now.
That's right.
So right now they're starting to work, and I'm going to work with them, but I'm programmed to bring hockey to minorities.
There you go.
To show hockey is for everyone, to get them equipment. This is a process that's going to take years, because most family that comes from South, they can't afford playing hockey.
You'll be involved in, George, you'll be involved in that?
Yes, I will be.
Okay,
good. to bring hockey to minorities and stuff. Yeah. And actually, this is something that I should talk with you others about, because there's a lot of First Nation around Edmonton.
Yes, there is.
There's a lot of minorities that could also could use the help on that. And I would love to do something like that with you all. There's some guys that do some of that stuff with different teams. So this is something in the future that I will contact you others to do so.
If the NHL is going to learn that LPGA golf gets better ratings than the NHL in the United States. So if they want to figure out if they are still naive enough to not think that the minorities bring up the game, they're the ones that are going to buy the shoes, the hats, the everything else. It happened in the NBA. It happened in the NFL. And if hockey thinks they're too above whatever, I'm not sure, but it's time to do that, to bring it in. You know, it really is.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's starting to. Programs are starting to.
It's fantastic.
The discussion has started with everything that's happened. And again, I'm not just talking for minority, right? The discussion has to happen for minorities, for people that are homosexual, and for women also.
Yeah, that's right.
There's still not a viable professional woman league. And, every woman should have the dream to be playing in the NHL for women, just like the WNBA.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
And every kid that is homosexual should have the rights to play the sport he loves within be teased about. And so there's a lot of work to be doing for equality for everyone, because sport should be for everyone.
I totally agree.
And it's so important. And the one thing that what the recent event, the negative one, has done, and is it brought back to the forefront the equality in all those three issues.
Correct.
That are all important, as much important one to another. And now it seems like the world, the society is recognizing the problem, and now a lot of people want to be part of the solution.
Yeah. Well, you brought it up earlier in the show when you were a kid going to the arena and people are using the N-word, and now if that happened, that would never happen today. You know, like you would never see that in an arena today. And the crazy part is to see more African Americans playing the game of hockey, but you have to make it accessible for them to be able to play the game, right?
Yeah. It's not, I mean, it is expensive. You're right. It is an expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive
for anyone. Yeah. Like, I mean, I have 5 kids. It's very hard to put them all in hockey. It's expensive sport. So it does need either funding or some kind of subsidy to bring that to another demographic.
Correct.
George, I mean, you've given us so much information. You've had I knew that we weren't going to talk about fighting this whole time. And I think anyone that's done even 3 seconds of homework has realized Georges Laraque, the NHL tough guy, but so much more. Yes. And that is something that is well beyond your legacy in the NHL. I think what you said with the charity work and giving and fighting racism and fighting for everybody to enjoy sports is not only important, but it is inspiring for everybody else out there.
And don't forget diet and health. That's another thing.
Right.
That
we didn't even talk about your diet and health.
If there's a part 2, George will be on the show next month also, everybody, because we have to talk about diet and health and being a vegan and what that is all about.
Are we already done?
We're very close.
We're close, but we're not done. No, but
hey, I need an hour to convert you guys and all the listening to veganism. Are you kidding me?
Well, George, I did for 6 months. I wanted to lower my cholesterol, so I became a vegan for 6 months. And it was very easy for me to do, but my cholesterol didn't come down, so I started eating hamburgers again. So
I was a vegetarian for 2 years.
Yeah.
I didn't go full vegan because
I did.
I need cheese, but
why you need cheese? Ask me that why.
Yeah, no, you don't.
You know what's the composition of dairy product?
It's not good. I know that.
We did our research.
What is it?
Pus.
And
pus is inside bacteria.
And pus.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
I don't know what I don't know.
Pus. What else?
Yeah.
Pus, morphine, blood.
Yeah. You're right.
That stuff. That's what you're putting in your body.
Yeah, it's gross.
You guys don't like your body?
Of course.
So what are you eating that stuff?
What? So you have
Jesse, I need you to be Santa Claus forever. Why are you putting cancer in your body with dairy products?
You need me to be Santa Claus? I mean, to have to keep going to McDonald's to look the part.
Yeah, no. You know what? But it did teach me a lot, though. It taught me a lot, George.
It did. And I said I did actually do vegetarian for 2 years, and I love to cook, so it was actually a challenge in that department because you have to learn dishes that you would normally never.
Correct.
You just put meat in there and it would be part of the deal. But then now you had to do it, and it was actually fun. Yeah. It was a very good challenge for everything and our whole family.
When I see meat, what I look at?
What's that?
Animal corpse.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
No, but that's
it is 100%.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
When you go to the grocery store and you go to the cemetery of dead animals, like inject with HGH.
Yes.
You look at dead chicken, dead like pig, dead like beef. Everything is dead, and you getting excited to buy dead animals that you're gonna eat.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How crazy is that?
That is crazy.
Think about that, and it's not healthy for you, and it stays in your intestine forever, and it's decomposing in your intestine forever. It's giving you gas, so much problem, and it stays in there because your body is not recognizing it. Your intestine is so long, it stays in there. As
How
the
long?
animal that are carnivore.
How long have you been a vegan for? How long?
Since 2009.
2009. Wow.
What was the?
Yeah,
was it like? Did you pull the trigger right away, like cold turkey?
I saw a documentary. I saw Hurtlings online. Hurtlings show how animals suffer to end up in our plate, how bad it is for health, and how bad it is for the environment.
Yeah.
When I saw that, it was an hour and a half. It was Joaquin Phoenix doing the narration of it.
Yeah.
I cried.
Yeah, that's right.
I cried, and I couldn't believe that I was endorsing all those industries. So, me, I'm someone that if I do something, I do it or I don't. When I saw that, I cried, and I was like, I'm becoming vegan right off the bat.
That's it.
Were you still playing then?
I never looked back. My last year in the NHL, I was.
How was that?
My last year in the NHL, I was vegan. I was lucky because Pierre Gauthier, which was our GM, he was vegan too. So half the meal in the dressing room and the planes were vegan. But that was it. It's crazy because I'm also a public speaker.
Yes.
And I do 100 speeches every year, and most of them is about veganism, because people are wondering how come a big black tough guy
can be vegan. Yeah.
Because most of the time, people that talk about veganism are yogis that weighs 100 pounds.
Right.
Skinny.
That
floats in the wind.
Yeah. Has to run around in the shower to get wet.
But I watched that documentary about the silverback gorilla. The silverback gorilla, I thought ate meat. I thought they ate meat, and they said they don't touch meat. They would kill you in the jungle, but they wouldn't eat you because you're meat. Yeah. They only eat plants, and they're humongous, right? They're gigantic. Yeah. And the silverback gorilla, if you would have asked, do they eat meat? Everybody would say, of course they do. They would eat meat, but they don't touch it.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
There's a good documentary you guys could watch on Netflix. It's called Game Changers.
Yeah,
I saw it. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. I'm actually on it too at the end on the stage when Ed Bohemian does the world record. I'm wearing a green T-shirt and I'm on the stage with them. I was with them when they were doing the shooting of it. I was with them on that thing. But Game Changers is a really good documentary.
Yeah, I saw it.
That explains the healthy lifestyle of being vegan, how good it is for your body. And it's for a lot of people, because I know the gruesome documentaries with watching animal killings, a lot of people have a hard time with this.
Yeah.
But Game Changers is totally different. It will give you the scientific facts, and it could help a lot of people that are wondering if that diet is good or not.
Wow. Are you a carb junkie now though?
No.
That's what happened to me. That's what happened to me, George. When I did it, I became a carb junkie. I just couldn't stop.
But the thing is, a lot of people that becomes vegan, if sometimes they don't do it right. They don't know. They just eat carbs and bread, and they don't eat proper, and they stuff themselves with gluten and stuff like this, and because they don't know what to eat, right?
Correct.
And that's a lot of the mistake that people do. And if you actually do that, you could actually feel worse than actually when you were eating meat.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you load yourself in white flours and stuff, and even some people that are vegetarian sometimes they're not as healthy because they stuff with dairy stuff, cheese and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not better.
Correct.
It congests their heart and everything, so it's not good. So that's why in everything that you do, if you don't know what to do, it's always good to consult, especially veganism, because it's more complex to make sure that you having all the
correctly
eating all the
like find a
naturopath
or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, George,
awesome.
I mean, you're a diverse man, and I tell you what, like,
did you flash social media on the bottom of the screen, people?
It's been going up and down all the time.
Please follow George on Twitter.
You're pretty
and
much
Instagram.
at Georges Laraque on everything, right? Like your Twitter's at Georges Laraque, your Facebook, and I mean, follow this guy. Like, I mean, if you're not inspired watching this today, there's something wrong with you. So
yes.
So you have to.
Yes, there's something wrong.
There's something wrong with you. So
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a secret, George. I'm a huge Calgary Flames fan. I hate it.
Yeah, he is.
What?
You want to know the story? I'll tell it quickly.
Yes,
I was 5 years old, and I grew up on Vancouver Island. My dad was a huge Canucks fan, and he said to me, Jesse, you can't pick the Canucks. You have to have a different team than me, so we have a rivalry. Well, I was 5 years old, and I went to the list of logos for the NHL. I think there's like 26 teams at the time in 1985, and I picked the coolest one. I picked the Calgary Flames logo, and I said, this is my team, and I am going to pick this, and I've stuck with it ever since. So I am a huge Calgary
question for you.
Yes.
Question for you. Since there was no really heartful, real reason why you picked them because of a logo.
No. Yeah.
How about today, in front of all the listeners, you change it?
I've invested, and I tell my kids this: you say it yourself, George. When you pick something, you stick with it, and that's what I've done. I did that in 1985.
You picked it for logo reasons. That's not a real reason.
No, that is not a reason.
Come on, Jesse. Come on.
Because
Jesse,
I bled and died with them.
Listeners.
I bled and died with the Flames the same years that all the Oilers fans bled and died with the Oilers. The years that we had poor years, I went through it all, and I never abandoned ship, and I can't abandon ship now.
Yeah, but
would you George, would you respect me more if I abandoned the team I've had for 35 years?
No, you can't.
That's been faithful. You're right.
Yeah, faithful.
That's been faithful.
It's a rarity.
I put the pressure on you, and you're still sticking with them. So that's true love. That is true love.
It is. And I remember when I lived in Vancouver Island, like I said, and we moved here about 14 years ago. And I said the last place in Canada I will move is Edmonton, Alberta. If anywhere, I'm going to move to Calgary if it's outside of BC. But here we are in Edmonton. It was a funny thing, and so it's fun to wear a Flames jersey in Rogers Place now. It's I will say George, this though, George, that I get more respect wearing a Flames jersey in Rogers Place than I did wearing one in GM Vancouver. Place in Vancouver.
Yeah, of course.
Vancouver people were not nice.
Yeah.
And they would throw stuff at me. And George, Edmonton is kind of part of the deal.
We have so many Edmonton listeners and people that watch our show. Can you tell people, because I always got made fun of because I love the city of Edmonton so much. I've moved here 25 years ago, and I was using the term support local before local was cool. And people used to laugh at me all the time, and tell people how much you love the city of Edmonton.
Well, when I was drafted by Edmonton, just like everyone, I thought that Edmonton, all it was is a city with the West Edmonton Mall.
Yeah.
And after you do the mall, that's it. And you remember, I wasn't born in Montreal where there's tons of stuff to do, right?
Of course.
So when I was drafted, I made it to the Oilers. In the summer, I would go back to Montreal, and I couldn't wait. After the first year I played in Edmonton, I went back in the summer in Montreal. After the second year, because I played 8 years in Edmonton, I went back to Montreal. That was it. After that, I never went back, even in the summer.
Wow.
My friend, if they wanted to see me, they had to go to Edmonton because I embraced the city. I felt more comfortable in Edmonton than in my own home in Montreal where I was born.
Wow.
That's how amazing the city of Edmonton is, living there, family-oriented, and the fans and everything, and the charity work that I was doing and everything. It was awesome. I think to raise a family, Edmonton is one of the best places to live. And it's crazy because
I agree.
People on the outside, you look at all the fields and you think that it's just fields of cow and all that stuff, but it's not that.
Yeah.
The community living in Edmonton, how nice it is to live there, like the peace and quiet you have. I can't explain it. It's like,
I agree.
You fall in love with a city with everything in it. And it's like, this place is like paradise. People talk about the winter. It's people that talk about that stuff. It's people that haven't experienced it.
Yeah.
Because if you live here, you met the people here, you embrace the community here, you'll see that compared to everything you live in life, Edmonton is paradise. I love it there. I love it here so much that there was a year where I tried to convince guys to sign in Edmonton when Marian Hossa was like, there was rumor that Edmonton will try to sign him. I tried to convince him to tell him how nice Edmonton was. And I was talking to guys that were asking about Edmonton because I loved it so much. Because when Pronger left, Edmonton got a bit.
He got stomped.
Thing,
You know, people were thought, oh, it must be bad because his wife didn't want to be there and they left. So people were talking. And then I was like, no, guys. And I tried to save it.
Oh.
And man, it was tough to get players here, and we didn't make the playoffs for 10 years until Jesus was born. And he was drafted by the Oilers, but man, I love the city, man.
Yeah.
What's your outlook? What's your prediction for the Oilers in the next 5 years?
I think the Oilers are going to make the playoff, but until they get a real number one goalie, they're not going to win.
100%.
Because last year in the playoff, and I love the Oilers, and I want the Oilers to win, especially for the fans, but it was the battle of the worst goalie last year in the playoff. You know, Smith and Koskinen, I'm sorry, but they were terrible. So was Crawford. But, you know, and I know the Oilers. And you know, Jesse, you're lucky because Calgary won the Derby of Markstrom. And I know the Oilers went. The Oilers went on that Derby, and that if they would have got one Markstrom, they would finish first in the Canadian division. The Oilers needed a goalie. I see the body language of the guys when bad goals gets in, and it changed the entire dynamic of a team.
Sure does.
Goaltending is important. You look at the years that, you know, the Oilers had Grandfiore, Ranford, and even in our cup run, we had Dwayne Rolson.
Stood on
goalies is essential. And with all the firepower the Oilers have, maybe this year they'll be able to find that goalie. Maybe when Leonard's back from his surgery, maybe we'll get Fleury. I don't know, but the Oilers need the number one goalie.
You're right.
To have a chance to win the cup. But playoff-wise, I have no doubt they're going to make it. But to win in the playoff, you need a goalie, and we saw it last year. And I don't think that what they have in nets right now, it's enough.
Do you split time in Edmonton and Montreal?
I did more before COVID because my twins live in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And now with COVID, it's harder. But hopefully when this thing, hopefully this year things will resolve and it'll be much better. I'll be able to come more.
Awesome.
Well, George, again, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you on the show and to learn more about you and what you do and what you stand up for and how big of an advocate you are, not only for charity, not only for being a good person, but for the city of Edmonton too, because I think, like you said, the city of Edmonton gets stomped on a bit in Canada, and it's time people understood that this place is awesome and this is a place that you want to come. And so thank you so much for joining us tonight. And you know, what's your next thing? Where are you going to go next?
Man, not much right now. I'm on the radio every day, right? So at this time, I'm gonna rest. By the way, I run every morning. I run 10K every morning. Nice. And I run a half marathon every Sunday because I'm preparing for my third marathon this year.
Oh, that's
well, you know. Marathon. Do you know our dear friend Eddie Hallaby said that he wanted me to bring it up on the show.
Eddie's my brother.
Yeah,
Eddie's my brother.
He wanted to. Well, I've known Eddie for 20-something years. Eddie and I sparred at least 1,000 rounds of boxing together.
I never saw you on Richard's Pub back in the days.
No, I'm George. I'm old. I'm 53. So, but Eddie and I. But he wanted me to bring up, and he said, "Mark, I'll kill you if you don't bring it up." He said about triathlons with you and him, and you invited him to do a triathlon one time, and then he got tossed into the pool. He thought he was going to do the run, and he said I had to bring it up on the show.
No, okay, I'll tell you this story. This story is actually pretty good. So there's the Holac Park triathlon, which was the Olympic tryout. The Olympic tryout for that. So it's all best people in the world going there.
Yeah.
Because I play with the Oilers, they give me a special invitation. So of course I knew I was going to finish last. So anyway, I invite Eddie to come into that. So it's a 1 kilometer swim,
40
bike and
10K runner.
So Eddie's like, George, I can't swim. And I was like, don't worry. Holac Park, you can actually walk in the water. And I knew we couldn't walk, but I said, you could walk in it. So anyway, Eddie, it starts with the water. So we all have like a bracelet around our neck. Eddie goes in the water and he walks till he has up his neck. And then he stops. because he can't swim. And if he keeps walking, he's going to have water above his head. So there's people in the canoe that look at him. They're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I can't swim. So they disqualified him.
No.
Wait. So he had the walk of shame. In front of everyone, they took his bracelet out and the walk of shame. After just getting in the water, he had to come back. He was out.
My God.
And he's like, George, I'm going to kill you. He was packed with people. That was my best prank ever. Best prank ever.
Oh, my goodness. Well, there you have it, everybody. You can don't ever enter a triathlon with George Laraque, because he's going to throw you under the bus or into the pool. In Eddie's case.
Yeah,
that was awesome. But I love Eddie, by the way. I used to go to his pub all the time. Him and his family, they embrace me as their brothers and stuff. So my time in Edmonton with his family, with Eddie, was awesome. And Eddie was an unbelievable boxer. I never saw you box, bro, but Eddie, I saw him box all the time. He was in unbelievable shape. And back in the day, he looked like he'd be in Eddie always looked like he could be in the cover of GQ magazine.
He still does.
He was like,
he still does.
He still does. Yeah. He was one of the best womanizer I've ever seen.
He's still
you heard it here, everybody, on the Me and Jesse podcast.
Yeah. And he's still single. Everybody. Yeah.
Edmonton's most eligible bachelor.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks so much for joining us, George.
Thank you,
been
George.
A privilege, and we'd love to have you back on one day too.
We will.
To get more of those stories, because it is awesome to hear from you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you soon.
Yes, I love you guys. Thank you.
See you, George.
Bye. You can hang up, George.
Okay, see you guys. Thank you.
See ya.
Okay. Oh my God.
Wow, that was good. I mean, hey, George is what a great guest. I mean, we're not messing around here on the Me and Jesse podcast.
No,
are we? We're not messing around at all. We're getting the best guests. We're getting the people that are going to change things. This is awesome, and I hope you enjoyed that today, because hey,
next week,
it gets up from here. It gets better. It keeps going.
Marty Turco
up next week. I'm gonna flash that on the screen there for everybody.
Former Dallas Star goalie and entrepreneur now. So it's Marty Turco next week on the Me and Jesse podcast.
Stay tuned, everybody, for that. Chime in. There'll be a link on there so you can share it to all your friends. If you like this episode, be sure to hit that share button. There was some awesome stuff in there. We talked to George for an hour, and it was incredible. And
we knew that, though.
Didn't
we know that?
What a great guy.
We talked about that, though.
Yeah.
We said when we started the sports version, we were going to do an hour-long show, but what's going to happen is we're probably going to have to make the show an hour and a half starting very soon when it comes, because our guests we got blue chip guests coming here. We got Marty Turco coming. We got some Raiders coming. We got some Boss Rutan coming. We got Boss Rutan coming. We got so many great guests coming, and we're very excited. And like I said, this show could go on for at least an hour and a half every time. So
thanks so much for watching, everybody. That's Mark Pavlich over there. I'm Jesse Martineau. This has been the Me and Jesse podcast.
Thanks to our guest, George Laraque.
Thanks so much, man. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next week on Monday. Be sure to hit that like, share, and comment. See you next time.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/Me and Jesse.